welcome to the meeting room tutorial. In this video, we're going to cover the processes of how to conduct a meeting both as a chairperson and as a normal member. I'm not going to cover how to set up your organization or how to create a meeting in this video. There's a second video here if you want to learn how to manage the system. This video is solely about the processes and controls for holding a Robert's Rules of Order meeting. Let's begin. In the middle browser, I'm logged in as Andrea and as Carlos on the right browser. Both of these two are logged in as plain vanilla members. Kyla on the left is a chairperson. This is just a 3-member organization, but in real life we would expect you to have dozens or even hundreds of members all logging in from around the world. First things first, let's jump into the meeting room. If you click the menu button at the top right of the screen, you'll see the meeting listed under Upcoming Meetings. Notice the attendant count rise as each person enters the room. And we only have 3 members, so 2 people counts as quorum. So if you notice over on Kyla's screen, at the top left, we have the attendance count, and right now it says no quorum. Once Carlos enters the meeting room, it should go to quorum. Okay, we're in the meeting room. The meeting starts in 1 minute, if you read the message down at the bottom. First, most of the meeting controls are found down at the bottom of the page. If you look at Kyla's screen, you'll notice we have this button here, Actions, which is where you can select any of the motions or actions you would like to perform, and we'll go over these soon. There's also a text box where you enter your comment or motion or whatever. At the very top, we have a series of statuses. The start time for the meeting, what rule engine is being used. Yes, we support more than just Robert's Rules of Order. The number in attendance and quorum, and whether or not the floor is open for debate or discussion. In order to do anything as a member, you must be recognized by the chair, so you can see who has asked for the floor and in what order, so that the chairperson can assign out access as they see fit. Under Agenda are the items to be discussed during this meeting. Next to each item is a checkbox. If there's no check mark in the box, that means that agenda item has not been discussed. If there is a check mark, that means it has been discussed. And if there's a star, that is a currently active agenda item. Since the meeting hasn't started, you'll notice that Kyla is the only one who can do anything. Over on Andrea and Carlos' screen, they only have a message stating that the start time is in a few minutes. Okay, we're past the start time, so let's have Kyla start the meeting. To do that, click the Actions button, and you'll see here that Call the Meeting to Order is now enabled. So you click that. Now Kyla can choose to enter an opening statement, and she can enter that here in this text box. Also, we support Markdown, so if you'd like to add formatting, you can do that. I'll put an annotation here if you'd like to learn more about Markdown. You can click the preview button if you'd like to see what your message is going to look like before you submit it. Once I click submit, you'll see that the message has been placed onto everyone's screen, stating that the meeting has started. Okay, the meeting started. Everyone instantly sees Kyla's opening statement, and the meeting controls have turned on at the bottom. Let's go over this opening statement box here. Any actions made will produce a new box in the main body of the screen. They are color-coded by main action types: main motions, subsidiary motions, incidental motions, privileged motions, and chairperson actions. Each action is time-stamped. It lets you know who made the motion, and there's a header here that lets you know what action was taken. So as I said before, the controls at the bottom of the screen are how you interact with the system. At any time, you can perform a certain selection of actions depending on the state of the meeting. For instance, since we haven't moved to the first agenda item, you really can't do much of anything. And you can see that here under Andrea's action menu. Once we do start an agenda item, many of these items will be enabled. I'll get into more of these actions later. Let's move to the first agenda item so that we can see more of these action controls. So under Kyla's action menu, select open the next agenda item, type in a message if you like, and click submit. You can see now that we're on the first agenda item, and there's a star under the agenda menu next to main motion. So I'm going to have Andrea make a motion. You'll see here that only certain action items are available. You'll see here that only certain actions are available. As I mentioned earlier, actions are content specific. Actions are context specific. In Robert's Rules of Order, as you probably know, only certain motions can be made depending on what other motions have been made. But let's go ahead and make a main motion. Enter your motion into the statement. Notice here that the submit button isn't enabled. You first have to request the floor and be recognized by the chairperson to be able to submit any kind of motion or statement. So let's go ahead and do that now. Click request the floor. You'll see in the queue dropdown there's one person, Andrea. There are also two icons next to Andrea's name. If I click this first icon, it'll remove Andrea from the floor. The second icon will give Andrea the floor, and the number next to this little word bubble is the number of times that she has made a motion on the current agenda item or has spoken on the current motion. Andrea also has the ability to remove herself from the queue if she decides she's changed her mind and does not want to speak. Carlos can only see that Andrea is in the queue. I'm going to have Kyla give Andrea the floor. You'll see here that a message appears saying that you have the floor. We have everything prepared, and the submit button is now enabled. Go ahead and click submit. Now, since this is a main motion, it requires a second. So Carlos or the chairperson can do that. Generally, the chairperson doesn't, but we gave you that flexibility. The chairperson can kill the motion too if no one decides to second. Let's go ahead and have Carlos second, and you'll see it recorded here in the minutes. Generally then we open the floor to debate, which is done by the chairperson. You just click on Actions and open the floor to Discussion Debate and click Submit. Okay, now you can discuss. Okay, so let's have Carlos make a statement. First, under Actions, click Make a Statement. Type in your message. Also, you need to make sure you've requested the floor. And then you click Submit. Alright, enough talk, let's vote. To do that, on Kyla's screen, under Actions, select Put the question to vote. And click Submit. You can see you have three options here, aye, nay, and abstain. And as members vote, you'll see the totals tally up down below here. Let's say the membership really likes this motion and decides to vote in approval. Okay, so let me kind of explain what we're seeing here in this action box. We can see that the chairperson has put the question to vote. We have a copy of the motion that was put to vote, and you can see the outcome of the vote. In this case, the motion was carried with a vote of 3 for, 0 against, and 0 abstaining. The last action you want to perform for any vote is to have the chairperson ratify the vote, just by clicking this button here. Okay, motion passed. You can now move on to other business. Another person can submit a motion, and you can go through that whole process over again. But let's move to the next agenda item, and we can test out some subsidiary motions. Okay, this time let's have Carlos make a motion. Okay, let's pretend that there's been a lot of discussion about this motion, and Andrea decides that we just don't have enough information to really proceed. So she's going to make a motion to postpone this motion indefinitely. Now this motion type does require a vote, so let's go ahead and put it to vote. You can see here that it did carry with a vote of 2 for and 1 against. And now that motion has been postponed. Okay, that's the last agenda item. So let's go ahead and just call this meeting to a close. Under Actions, select Adjourn the Meeting. Request the floor. Submit. Now you can see that the motion, okay, now you can see here that the only options under Actions are to appeal the decision, object to consideration, and withdraw or modify the motion. So effectively the meeting is over. Okay, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy using the system. Send us your comments and feedback.